Minutes so folks can keep joining us.
Hello, Tracy.
Kia's
Hello.
Tracy joins people with cool paintings in the background club.
Yes. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Bernardo, Kia, Dylan, Jessica. The house is filling up. Hey.
Silicon, yes, welcome.
Thank you. You notice the painting over my shoulder?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Whose is that?
Only one person.
Is that
Angel.
a Bertranca? Oh,
Angel Quinones.
Amazing.
Yeah, my man.
Excellent, excellent artist.
Miss him.
Well, welcome, Michelle.
Hey, Silicone. See you coming in.
Peter's here. Good.
Peter.
Yeah,
Hi,
Peter.
Amy.
Light my fire.
Howie's joining too. Hi, Silicon.
Steelyard in the house.
Steelyard.
We wish we
Yeah.
had music for you all, but YouTube was kicking out our videos because of copyright.
Hold on,
I
I'll
know.
get you something.
Yeah.
No, don't do it.
No, don't do it.
Not worth it.
If I play it on my phone,
Nope.
No, they won't let us upload the videos. But thank you, Vin.
Music copyright. We
you
do
could have
respect
music
the
in the
artists.
background.
No, you can't, sadly.
Really?
I
Yeah.
know.
You
Yeah,
got to change those laws.
we do. Amy, thanks for joining us. Welcome, welcome. Let's
Hi,
see.
Dylan. Hi, Patricia.
Is that Christina?
Yeah, Christina Bevilacqua. Hey, Dylan, Christina. Rafini, welcome, welcome. So glad you could join.
Greetings, everyone.
Hi, Rafini.
I'm gonna be with y'all in a minute.
All right, we'll wait for
Turn my
you.
camera on in a minute. I'm here in the meantime. It's nice to see all you beautiful faces.
Thank you.
Don.
So glad you could join. Yes.
Vinny, what's up, brother?
Where you live?
Vinny?
Where you hanging? Where's your crib?
I'm all over the place, man. I'm in the world.
Man, the FBI can't track you down no place.
I'm underground. I don't
I
think
hear
they're
you.
looking for me. How you doing?
Good. Miss you, my man.
Miss you too, man.
So great. Welcome, Howie. Just coming out of another spectacular session, Howie, last week. So thank you so much for hosting that space. Creative economy. Cool. All right, we'll wait one more minute, y'all, and then we can start.
Everyone text a friend who you think should be here. Get them in. Let's pack this Zoom box. So I got to click through several pages.
MJ, I did have one person text me and say they were having some issues getting in. They should just be able to link in through the Zoom link, right?
Yes, Gina, do you have any other advice on that?
No, if they have the link, they should be able to click in. But if you give them my email, right, I can troubleshoot on the side here.
Sent it to Angel.
Great.
All right, and I think we're good to get started. So yes, let's get going. Thank you all so much for being here. And Stephanie's gonna start us off. So take it away, Stephanie.
Thanks, MJ. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Fortunato, Director of Providence's Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism. And I'm so happy to see all of you here today so that we can talk about public awareness of the creative sector. This is an interesting conversation in this moment with massive disruption in travel and tourism, our media landscape, and a contentious national election framing our advocacy efforts. But it's also an important time to have this conversation as we think about our cultural plan and our vision for Providence in 2030, how we can strengthen arts, culture, and creativity to really be a force that takes us not only out of this period of disruption, but really drives a vibrant and vital Providence in the future. We really need to hear from you today because this is a moment where we need great innovation. And I am so happy to be joined by our co-hosts today from the Providence Cultural Equity Initiative. Raymond Watson-Tuhawks and Don King are here. Hi, guys.
Hello.
I also want to say thank you and hello to the staff of the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism. We're joined by Gina Rodriguez-Drix, the project manager for the cultural plan and our cultural affairs manager. And we have, I think behind the scenes, maybe Lizzie Arujo, Micah Salkind, Lael Tucker, who are here with us. We have our fabulous artist facilitators to help us today. We're joined by MJ Robinson and Shay Rivera Rios. Hi, guys. Tracy Johnson is also one of our artist facilitators, although she's not here today. And we have some great guest speakers. We're joined today by Silaphone Nangvangsadi from the Laotian Community Center, Tracy Dancing Star from the Poconoet Tribe, and Lanre Ajakaija, I'm sorry, Lanre, I said that terribly, who's going to talk a little bit about his new project, 25 Bow Street Project, and I'm excited to hear about that. So the cultural plan is really an opportunity for us to think about the strengths, weaknesses, challenges, and opportunities that we're facing as a sector and to come up with some strategies. And so today I hope that we can surface some good ideas about how we can go deeper, how we can not just focus in on the visitor experience, but how we can make investments in our local creative sector that will benefit everyone. We are starting all of our sessions with a land acknowledgement, and a time traveler recently reminded me that we should start all of our conversations, both public and private, with this land acknowledgement. And I am pleased to welcome Ray Watson to get us started with that land acknowledgement. Ray?
Very good. So in the language of the Aboriginal peoples of these lands, we say Akwani, which is peace be unto you. So blessed to have you here for this very important discussion. And as is appropriate, we will begin with the land acknowledgement. We recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. We acknowledge that the city of Providence is located within the ancestral lands of the Pokanoket tribe, the Narragansett tribe, and the Nipmuc tribe, and that these communities are the original and continuous stewards of these lands. So let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to reconcile and partner with the Narragansett, Pokanoket, Nipmuc, and all of the Indigenous peoples whose lands and waters we benefit from today. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ray, for grounding us. And now we're going to have MJ to take us through the agenda. MJ?
Thanks. I think Shay's gonna jump us in. Yep, go for it.
Thank you. Well, we're going to take a few minutes to really truly get to know the trajectory of Ray and Don, do a proper introduction to their work. So I'm going to read through some of the key projects that they've been involved in, so you get a sense of also all the cultural richness that is in this session, so that we can unpack things together in a beautiful way for the planning process that we hope to have to see a beautiful and vibrant and powerful Providence in the next 10 years. So let me begin. Raymond Two Hawks Watson. Thank you so much, Ray, for hosting this session. Raymond is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Providence Cultural Equity Initiative. He is an activist, educator, and cultural practitioner with 20 years of experience in the nonprofit administration sector. He is the great-grandson of Chief George Watson of the Narragansett Indian Tribe, 1981. Fourth great-grandson of Chief Brister Michael of the Narragansett Indian Tribe, 1881, and of direct lineage from the pre-colonial Chief Canonicus of the 1600s. He also has roots out of Mississippi as well. Two Hawks is the Pomham Sachem of the Mashapug Narragansett Tribe out of Providence, Rhode Island, and founder of the Providence Cultural Equity Initiative. Watson was also the executive director of the Mount Hope Neighborhood Association for 9 years before founding Providence Cultural Equity Initiative. He has an extensive background in promoting and supporting cultural equity initiatives and programming in the state and beyond, and is the recipient of the Rhode Island Foundation's 2016 Innovation Fellowship precisely because of this rich trajectory of work. Currently, Two Hawks is a Juris Doctor candidate at the Roger Williams University School of Law, specializing in international law. Thank you, Ray. And it's also my pleasure to formally introduce Donald King, who also many of us know as well, the same way that we know Ray. Chief Creative Officer of Providence Cultural Equity Initiative. Donald King, as many of us know, is a seasoned producer, cultural practitioner, and a community engagement specialist, skilled in connecting people, places, and perspectives. He has 20 years of notable accomplishments and extensive expertise in the arts, education, and literacy sectors. He produces, presents, and advises on large-scale, multi-stage festivals and placemaking events, even before this placemaking thing was a thing, and also institutes internationally. Don is both local, regional, national, and international. King was the founder and artistic director of Providence Black Repertory Company, where he produced 13 seasons of award-winning theater, education, and public programs, including the Providence-renowned Providence Sound Session, a genre-defying multi-stage music festival and parade that engaged and mobilized local neighborhoods while attracting regional, national, and international audiences. Some of us would say that planted the seeds to what the cultural plan is today and pushed the boundaries and horizons of what we should hope for our cultural sector. Don graduated from Brown University, where he concentrated in Africana studies, modern culture and media, and became involved with Rights and Reasons Theater. King is also vice president of Archetype LLC and co-owner of Fete Music Venue in Olneyville in Providence.
That's go ahead. That's not true. That's old bio. I'm sorry.
Old bio?
You must have not gotten the bio I sent you earlier. That's okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, delete that. Rewind. Today, Donald King divides his time between Austin, Texas, where he works to develop the United Music Experience, in Providence, Rhode Island, where he advises Providence Cultural Equity Initiative and Echo Arts. King recently launched Lift Every Voice, a new education and leadership training institute that inspires leaders and teachers to lift voices in their respective institutions. And working across the nation, Donald King. Your bio is so long and rich. Thank you so much for allowing me to summarize it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And also, now that we have our spectacular hosts of this session and you know their work a little bit better, I'm going to present the agenda really quick so I can hand it to Dawn and we can get into the robust parts of the session. So let me do this agenda here. Let's see, 1 second so I can share my screen. Okay. There we go. All right. So when I'm done, I'm going to pass it to Donald King for the session intentions and a Think Puzzle Explore group activity. Well, we're going to get warmed up for this conversation about public awareness, tourism, and advocacy. After Don, Ray Watson will take the mic and give us an overview of the sector with the rich work that the PCEI has done and also some of the key topics that have come up in the past couple of years. After that, we'll have guest speakers, Landre Ajakaije from the 25 Bow Street Project, a spectacular new initiative, Silafon, Laotian Community Center of Rhode Island, and Tracy Dancing Star, Pokanoket Tribe. Then we'll have a 5-minute break with some music by MJ, I think public accessible music. And MJ then will lead us into breakout groups where we can look at 3 key questions that will help us inform this cultural planning process for the next 10 years. After that, Don King will have the microphone again to lead a share out centering this Think, Puzzle, Explore activity that we'll be engaged in. And then Gina Rodriguez will close us up with next steps from ACT. So this is our exciting agenda. Before we move toward that, it was a lot, and maybe we take a little time to take a deep breath so we can jump right in with Donald King. So if you don't mind joining me, place your feet firmly on the ground, stretch out. I've been telling people just dust off all that Zoom dust off of your body, move a little bit, stretch out, because damn, we are now always like Zooming. So I'll count 1, 2, and 3, and we'll take a breath, and then we'll come back and be ready for Don, your words. So 1, 2, and 3, we take a deep breath. And we let it out.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Shay, for that wonderful introduction of me and my comrade, Raymond Two Hawks Watson. It's really an honor to have been able to work with you, MJ, Gina, Micah, and Stephanie on this studio. So to everyone else, it's so wonderful to see you all, familiar faces, new faces. I want to make it clear up front that this is your design studio. Raymond and I are just facilitators. And it's also, we're putting forward a little mini design challenge. And we'd like to tackle some ideas around this sector. And you all are being asked to participate and engage in what will be shared with the department as a way in which they can crowdsource and gather your expert intel for a larger cultural plan. And so some of the questions we want you all to be thinking about is, how can the sector emerge? How will the sector emerge from this COVID moment? How can the sector envision the future and not be marred by what's happening right now with regards to COVID? And the way to do this, we think, from the perspective as cultural, from the cultural tourism sector, is to really think about the sector in a more expansive way, to be more expansive in our respective professional practices, to begin to imagine how we can, or reimagine new paradigms, configurations, leaders, and expertise within the sector and its governing institutions. And so we know there's a lot of, anxiety around it, but we think that this is an opportunity to reset and a catalyst to be able to start reimagining the tourism sector and reimagining what a tourist might look like. And so for today, we'd like to start off by asking you all to make some, grab a piece of paper and just on your own, make some notes. We're gonna do a Think, Puzzle, Explore. And we're gonna come back to this later on in the day, but we want you to make 3 columns. The first column is the Think column, and we wanna know, what do you think you know about Providence's tourism sector? And then in the second column, we want you to write down, what questions or puzzles do you have about the sector? Excuse me. And then in the third column, we want you to ask, how might you explore these puzzles you have around tourism and advocacy? And so all throughout the talk, all throughout the day, you can start taking notes. And then I promise you we'll come back to it and do it a bit more formally, and then maybe share out a few things as we get to it. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Ray.
Fantastic. So once again, welcome everyone. So excited to have such a robust group here. I'm going to quickly just go through a slideshow presentation that I put together to terribly bore you with my droning. But hopefully it'll be a few pertinent pieces of information in here that will kind of help to facilitate our discussion today. So we'll first start with talking about the Providence Cultural Equity Initiative, and we can go to our next slide. So about PCI, the Providence Cultural Equity Initiative promotes, cultivates, and advocates for the cultural sector and economy of Rhode Island. Next slide, please. It was established through a Carter Innovation Fellowship from the Rhode Island Foundation in May of 2016, incorporated as a Rhode Island-based domestic nonprofit corporation in December of 2018, and our principal place of business is right here in the lovely city of Providence, Rhode Island. Next slide, please. Our mission is to steward and ambassador Rhode Island's cultural sector and economy, and our vision is to transform Rhode Island into New England's premier cultural hub. Next slide, please. Which leads to our value proposition that PCEI, and this phrase was coined by the fantastic Mr. Donald King, is changing how the story of Rhode Island is told and sold. Next slide, please. And with that bit of context, we are so excited to be in partnership today with our fantastic extended family from the Providence Department of Arts, Culture, and Tourism to talk about public awareness, tourism, and advocacy. And as you can see, this fantastic photo here by my lovely wife, who's an excellent photographer, but this is from the 2019 PVD Fest. And this is a great, great collaborative performance between Yonatan Gadd and the Eastern Medicine Singers. EMS is based out of here in Providence, and Yonatan is out of New York City, but an Israeli guitarist, world-renowned. And this performance actually came together through the curation of the fantastic Mr. Donald King. Again, he's traveled all around the world performing. Next slide, please. So as we begin our discussion today around public awareness, tourism, and advocacy, and how we focus on where we're going, the first thing we need to keep in mind is that what is taking place right now is not all COVID-19's fault. Now, of course, COVID-19 is an absolute monster in terms of slowing down economies and impacting everyone. But here in Providence, we had a little bit of a fair warning that we needed to get some things in order. And I say that because if you look at the pictures here on the left is one of my favorite pictures in the world. It is the picture from the day I was awarded my Innovation Fellowship to lead the development of Rhode Island's cultural sector and economy. And then right next to that, in the same year, at the same time frame, we had the very infamous warmer and cooler debacle. So I share these both to say that Providence had fair warning that we were not maximizing our resources. We were not taking advantage of markets that we could, that we were being complacent. We were settling for what was working for right now, and we weren't fully prepared or engaged for any hardships that might come in the future. And it doesn't matter which sector you're talking about from a business perspective. If you don't do those things, then when hard times come, you're going to run into challenges. So starting off our discussion today, I want us to start from a place of personal responsibility as the tourism industry here in Providence, that we have some responsibility. It's not all COVID-19's fault. And with that context, let's move on to our next slide and what the focus of our discussion is today. So when we're discussing today, we want to do the 3 re's. We first want to reevaluate and ask ourselves, why are we here? So what factors led to the current state of affairs for tourism in Providence? What strategies could have been employed that were not, and why were they not? And then what strategies should not have been employed, and why were they? Next, we want to reassess. We want to ask, what do we have to offer? So what are Providence's undervalued resources? What investments and supports are necessary to fully capacitize Providence's undervalued resources? And what opportunities do these fully capacitized resources represent for Providence tourism? And then, because we all want to know how we get out of this funk, right? How do we get past COVID-19? Lastly, we want to refocus. We want to ask ourselves, where are we going? So what market or markets is Providence tourism targeting? What Providence resources are most attractive to those target markets? And what are the best strategies for Providence tourism to introduce Providence's resources to those target markets? Next slide, please. So let's start here because our focus, PCI, we're really in the business of cultural development, cultural economy, and cultural equity. But of course, we can't have a conversation about any of them unless we first start off with understanding what culture is. So I threw a couple of pictures up here, and I just want to ask, is culture food? Is it clothing or regalia? Is it dance? Is it music? Is it tradition? Is it ceremony? What exactly is culture when we use this term? And let's go to our next slide. For PCEI, culture is all of the above. So we define culture as the way things are done by specific groups of people over generations of time and the reasons why they do them. And once again, hearkening back to our fantastic PVD Fest 2019, this is my brother Mishapan, a fellow member of the Meshipag Nahigansa tribe, dancing at PVD Fest in traditional Eastern Woodlands regalia. So looking like he's from the 1600s, but here in the 2000s. Next slide, please. So we know what culture is. Now let's look at what cultural tourism is. And this definition comes from the World Tourism Organization's 2019 International Tourism Highlights. They define cultural tourism as a type of tourism activity in which the visitor's essential motivation is to learn, discover, experience, and consume the tangible and intangible cultural attractions / products in a tourism destination. They go on to say that these attractions and products relate to a set of distinctive material, intellectual, spiritual, and emotional features of a society that encompass arts and architecture, historical and cultural heritage, culinary heritage, literature, music, creative industries, and the living cultures with their lifestyles, value systems, beliefs, and traditions. Now, how do we know that this will work right here in the lovely state of Rhode Island? Well, I'll turn our attention to the picture right here. And this is a picture of Francesca Chiorando. She was the host for Insight TV, which is a Netherlands-based company that currently is in 28 countries and shows in 100 million households, who came to Rhode Island in 2018 to do a story on Anawan's Rock. Now, Anawan's Rock is the location where Anawan, Painisi warrior for the Pokanoket, turned over the final wampum belts over to the English at the end of the King Philip's War. And Insight TV thought this was a great story, so they flew Francesca into the area. She reached out to EMS. We went out there with some local representatives from indigenous tribes. And actually, this episode is on Netflix right now. So you can go and look for Insight TV on Netflix right now and see the episode they did on Anawan's Rock. But I share that to say that this cultural tourism market is real, and it's already right here in Rhode Island. We just need to embrace it and treat it as such. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at the cultural tourism market itself. And let's start with who the U.S. cultural tourist is. Well, the U.S. cultural tourist is 19.6 million international tourists to the U.S. And this is all in 2015. They were 86.4% from Europe, Asia, and South America. Their household income, the mean average was $89,490, and the median average was $66,240. They stayed on average 11.2 days at the hotels where they stayed at, and 91% of them went shopping, 86% of them went sightseeing, and 38% of them visited multiple states. So what we can see here is that not only can we attract these tourists here to Rhode Island, but we can also market to them that are in other states, because there's a chance that they might come over to Rhode Island if they're in the area. What are the key points that we want to look at when we're talking about cultural tourists? Well, in tourism, it is one of the fastest growing segments of the travel industry per the US Department of Commerce. Cultural tourists outstay, outspend, and out-travel other types of international tourists per the World Travel and Tourism Council's 2015 report. They prefer high culture or traditional local culture and specifically avoid popular and contemporary elements. They seek to gain an understanding or appreciation of the nature of the place being visited. They seek more authentic or deeper experiences other than other types of tourists. And so important to what we're talking about today, cultural tourism is a supplementary tourism market to recreation, hospitality, and gastronomy. So you're not taking anything away from the very strong markets that Providence already has in these regards by attracting cultural tourists here. They're going to do those things in addition. So really what we're saying is we're missing out on money from the cultural tourism perspective by not engaging this market with the resources that we have. Next slide, please. So let's just take a look at some of the probably more well-known or hopefully well-known cultural tourism resources that you may be or should be aware of. On the left, we have a picture from the Pyramid of the Moon, which is at Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City. I'm sure many people have seen the pictures of the pyramids of the sun and all of the people traveling there. Secondly, we have the statue Dignity, which is located in Chamberlain, South Dakota and Lakota territory. And this is an example of more contemporary heritage. So more contemporary forms of heritage being passed on, but you can go out there to visit that. And then lastly, our Maasai warriors in traditional dress from Kenya. The point being that cultural resources are so diverse and based upon the specific culture that you're sharing. So there's no one way that you're going to be looking for a cultural resources. You're really looking for specificity and uniqueness when you engage with them. Next slide, please. So our real question is, what are Providence's cultural tourism resources? Because we have so many, whether you're talking about land battles between the Narragansetts and the Poconokeets, slave ships delivering slaves from the West Indies and West Africa, whether you're talking about the location where they planned the attack for the Gaspee, which ignited the American Revolution, whether you're talking about being host to the largest Cape Verdean festival outside of Cape Verde. Next slide, please. Providence has a unique story to tell. So what we are promoting here at PCEI is that if we simply tell our own stories, visitors will come. It is that simple. If we tell our stories to the cultural tourism market, they'll come because we've got what they're looking for. Next slide, please. So I just want to bring us back to our 3 Re's as we go into our conversation today. We want to reevaluate. Why are we here? What are the circumstances that led to the current state of affairs in the tourism sector in Providence? Let's reassess. What do we have to offer the international cultural tourism market? Because we've got a lot if we think about it and package it right and support it and invest in it properly. And then refocus with these fantastic resources that we have, where are we going? Next slide, please. If you'd like to know more specifically about all of the benefits about culture and cultural tourism, I do invite you to check out my fantastic TED Talk that I did in 2017, I believe, with TED Talks Providence. You can Google it or find it on YouTube, and goes into some more in-depth about the specific benefits that it has. I didn't want to spend too much time here since we are very limited. Next slide, please. And for those of us looking for some more tangible sorts of models on great cultural tourism initiatives taking place around the world, or research you can do on your own, please check out the International Coalition of Sites of Conscience. This is an international network of cultural tourism locations around the world who have gotten their designation because they were so impactful upon the world itself that they are considered a site of conscience. And we have every interest and every intention as PCEI in pulling Providence and Rhode Island into that as well. And then, of course, you can look at the Cultural Heritage Tourism publication by Americans for the Arts from 2014, Defining Cultural Tourism by the International Conference on Civil Architecture and Sustainable Development from 2016, and Tourism and Culture, the World Tourism Council's website, which is up to date for 2020. Next slide, please. So as we pass the microphone back, I just want to say Pish Kanash, which in our language is see you soon. And this is a picture of EMS over in the Netherlands with Jonathan Gat performing for a crowd that was absolutely enthralled. And once again, this came out of us bringing our Rhode Island resources out to Austin and people being able to see us. So once again, the market's here. If we market it correctly and invest in it properly, it works. And then the last slide, please. As I finish my ramblings for the day, if you'd like to know more about PCEI and how we're changing the story of Rhode Island and how it's told and sold, feel free to reach out to us at hello@provcei.org. Our website is www.provcei.org, and you can also catch us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much for your time, and I will now turn the microphone over. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I need to introduce. So this was fantastic, right?
I'm gonna interrupt you,
Yes.
Renee, for just one moment. And then I'll have you introduce our awesome guests. Thank you so much. That was incredible. I feel like my brain just like expanded. So yeah, let's give a little silent applause. here. Oh, beautiful. I just wanted to have everyone take a couple minutes, if you haven't already created your Think, Puzzle, Explore columns on a paper in front of you. For me, I've been taking a couple notes as I'm listening to Ray, and I will continue to take some notes and jot down questions, thoughts, kind of in a bullet point type of way. This is mostly for myself to kind of get me ready for the conversations we're going to keep having today. So I just wanted to have everyone, if you haven't already, get your paper out and think about, we're thinking about what exactly is Providence's tourism sector. I just added so much while listening to Ray, in addition to kind of like what we might think of like the status quo or current ways that Providence tourism markets ourselves. In the middle, what questions or puzzles we have, and Ray gave us three really great, those three re's. So why are we here? What do we have to offer? And where are we going? Those are good examples of puzzles. And I haven't really gotten to explore yet, but we will get there today, and we will think about how we might explore the puzzles we have around tourism and advocacy. So if you haven't already, get your list going, and you can continue to add as we listen to our guests. So go ahead, Ray, and can you invite in our awesome guests for us, please.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we really want to push, and I hope that I got this across in my remarks, is that we have the resources we need right here, right now to engage. We don't need to go looking anywhere else. The problem is we probably just don't know about them or haven't been valuing them properly. So what we wanted to do was invite a set of individuals that we find to be tremendous cultural resources just to take some time to talk about their work. So often we are looking at other areas and what they're doing and lording over what they're doing. And with PCI today, we want to take some time to lord over what we're doing right here in Providence. So it is my extreme pleasure to invite three individuals who I know personally and professionally and have had the great opportunity to work with. Since we are in the lands of her people, why don't we first start with Sachem, dancing star of the Pokanoket Nation. Chief, if you would mind just sharing a few minutes about who the Pokanoket are and the fantastic opportunity that's coming up with the 400th year anniversary of the treaty signing with the Pilgrims this coming April. Is she there? Is she muted?
Welcome to the world of Zoom. Quinny. My name is Pope Pumaquakanakis, and I am the sachem of the Pokanoket tribe of the Pokanoket Nation. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to speak during this session. I would like to start by saying that there is no Plymouth without the Pokanoket tribe, that the survival of the Pilgrims would have been very dubious without the Pokanoket tribe. The famous peace treaty with the Pilgrims that lasted 54 years would not have happened without the Pokanoket tribe. And I would venture to say that there would be no Providence without the Pokanoket tribe. You might ask yourself why I say this, but bear with me, you'll see where I'm going. You see, the Massasoit that allowed the Pilgrims, and Massasoit means great leader, but the Massasoit who allowed the Pilgrims to stay safely in this land was from the Pokanoket tribe. And the Massasoit who allowed Tisquantum, who you know is Squanto, to stay and help the Pilgrims was from the Pokanoket tribe. The peace treaty that the Massasoit signed with the Pilgrims, as is displayed in Pilgrim Hall, that Massasoit was from the Pokanoket tribe. And as I said, Massasoit means great leader, and the Massasoit at that time was Osamequin. When Roger Williams made his way into Providence, it is recorded that he got very ill, and had it not been for the Pokanoket who sheltered him until he was well, he might have died and never made it to Providence. So you can clearly see the Pokanoket tribe of the Pokanoket Nation played a major role in the shaping and history of this country. The Pokanoket tribe was the headship of the Pokanoket Nation. And the Pokanoket tribe is located right here in Rhode Island. And a lot of people don't know that. So our ancestral land is called Soams, which is Bristol, Barrington, Warren, East Providence, historically Seekonk, Rehoboth, Swansea. But back in 1747, Massachusetts ceded part of Bristol County, Massachusetts to Rhode Island, and that part was Bristol, Barrington, Warren. And as I said, that is the homeland of the Pokanoket tribe. So that is major when you think about it, because Rhode Island therefore has a legitimate claim to the beginning history of this country because of the Pokanoket tribe. And right now, Massachusetts gets all the credit for that, and they get all the tourism, because of that. But really, it should be coming here to Rhode Island, because we are the beginning of, all of that. It really started here, and, Rhode Island really needs to tap into that. And I think that's one of those opportunities that, Ray is talking about. And what's bigger than that is, our story goes on, because we venture into the King Philip's War and why the Pokanoket tribe became, the invisible tribe, and its people were made to call themselves Wampanoag. It's very intriguing, but the King Philip War again is right here in Rhode Island. So we welcome the opportunity to work with Rhode Island and share our history, our knowledge, our story. I hope that Rhode Island, when reassessing goals and strategies for tourism, that they take advantage of our invitation. We already have everything we need right here. We don't need buildings. Our historic sites are right here. And it can be very interactive. And we've been, working with the Soam Heritage org. If you go onto their website, putting historical plaques and markers through our different ancestral sites, and it's very interactive. As I said, I'm sorry, I'm at work and I'm being paged.
No problem.
I'm on lunch for 2 hours. But there's so much more that we can do here, in the state of Rhode Island. And we had some events planned with the 400th anniversary coming up. We had some, some cultural events at Burrs Hill that we had planned. I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. We had some cultural events planned at Burrs Hill. We also, had a powwow, our Strawberry Moon, celebration that was planned, and then COVID fell upon us. But that's not the be all say all, because then we started venturing into virtual forums, and we started working with Roger Williams University, and their students came up with this lovely booklet here on the Pokanoket, and again, very interactive. We've had authors contact us. An author just released the Mayflower Chronicles, which highlights the Pokanoket tribe. She just had her big book introduction. We've had an author from England who's come, and we toured the land and shared with them about the Pokanoket history. So it's coming out, a lot of people are floored that this history is in Rhode Island, and they haven't heard it. It has not been taught, in the schools. It has not been highlighted in terms of tourism, and they are blown away by the history of the Pokanoket tribe and what we have right here in Rhode Island. And our phones, our website is just blowing up because people want to know. They want to know the history. And
Chief, I'm sorry, I will have to cut you off right there. That is fantastic information, but we're on a short time schedule.
Yes.
But thank you for that. If you would be so kind, just plug any information into the chat for people to get in touch with you. And once again, as you can see, this fantastic history, the start of the United States right here. Providence can claim ownership to that. And thank you very much for Chief Dancing
You're
Star.
welcome.
I do want to now turn it over to Silaphone Nungbang Suthi. I've known Silaphone since high school, and Silaphone has just been doing fantastic things for our Southeast Asian community. So I'd like to ask Silaphone if she would come on and share a little bit about the fantastic work she's been up to and the great cultural resource that she represents for the city of Providence.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to meet everyone as well as share my stories with you. So my name is Silaphone Nungbang, and yes, I've known Ray since high school and we go way back. But and we've grown up in Providence. We've also are aware that Providence, as well as Rhode Island, has some wonderful cultural treasures that we have and we own, because our people are here and we own our own culture. I believe that anyway. So I think that we have a wonderful opportunity here so I've been with the Laotian Community Center, helping our youth learn their traditions and cultures through dancing, as well as practicing traditional art forms. And they perform in Rhode Island, they perform nationally. We had a cultural, tourism event back in 2017. We had some dignitaries from Asian country called Sri Lanka come to visit, and they came and we hooked up with Elena from the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts, RISCA, as well as Stephanie at the Province Art and Tourism Council to kind of have him come and experience culture in Rhode Island. So his name was Siri, we call him Kirti, Weir Singh, and he brought 2 Sri Lankan artists. So we had a cultural exchange with AS220. I think that's when Shay was part of AS220 back in 2017. I know it's a few years ago, but there different partnerships arose, and we had the opportunity and the resources in Providence to make that all happen. So they came in here, they did a 1-month residency. They stayed at one of the studios at AS220. So they stayed, they did a few workshops, presenting as well as sharing their Sri Lankan culture. We had an art exhibit, they showcased, and they came and they loved America, because this was a couple of the artists. They were kind of having their first experience in America with us in Providence, and they were very blown away. So we had a pop-up art exhibit, and as well as them kind of also teaching a class at AS220, and they got to experience American culture. They went shopping. They loved the shopping here, as well as meeting different people and having a wonderful opportunity, kind of sharing their culture and taking in American culture. So we have this, I guess we have this treasure in Providence that I think that is not valued as much from my personal perspective, because we have so many different cultures, not just Asian culture. We have Native American, we have within Hispanic as well as Black culture. We at the Southside Cultural Center, 2017 was a big year, I guess, for it, because it was kind of a campaign for illuminating Trinity. So that area was kind of they had a new Southlight building, and they were kind of bringing everyone together to experience the richness in the culture that Providence has to offer. And
Thank you very much to the phone. Fantastic. And please, if you would be so kind, just plug your information or for any of the organizations that you represent or any articles so that people can be aware, because this is about educating the people in Providence around what the resources are right here in our fantastic city. So thank you very much to the phone.
Welcome.
And then lastly, it is my great honor and pleasure to invite another classicalite to share some of the fantastic work he's doing. Not to let the cat out of the bag, but PCI is actually currently finishing up a proposal to him to be involved in this fantastic initiative he has going on called 25 Bow. But I will let the man himself speak his magic to you. If we could have a very warm welcome for Mr. Lanre Advocacy.
Hello, everyone. How are you? This is Lanre Advocacy. Pleasure to see everyone. Hi, my ACT friends, classical, URI, leadership, Rhode Island. I see a bunch of people throughout all of those different spectrums. I'm going to try to share my screen if I can very quickly. Tell me when you see my screen, please. Or give a thumbs up.
We can see you.
You can see it. Awesome. Of course, my computer is going nice and slow. So today I'm going to be talking about the heritage and cultural experience at 25 Bow. So that is only one aspect of 25 Bow, but a very, very important one. As I give you this presentation, the context that you should keep in mind is I started this project about in 2017. So there were various environmental inspections that needed to be done, phase 1, phase 2, because it is in the heart of Onlyville. But I think that becomes very important for a number of different reasons. But first, let's start off with why do I care? First and foremost, I'm a Providence native, born and raised when Providence Women and Infants was called Providence Lying in Wait. I grew up in Hartford Park, right near Onlyville, Classical High School, St. Mary's before it was Paul Cuffey, abutting Onlyville and Federal Hill. I'm a proud dad, conscious dad, a founder of different organizations. So if you've ever heard of the New England Family Fun Festival that brought 6,000 people to the convention center, that was my crazy conception, and I did that. If you've ever heard of Rise Women's Leadership Conference, I power the marketing, the social, working with my wife, who's the executive director. That is tomorrow, by the way, so make sure you check that out. As well as Team Providence Travel and many other community initiatives. I don't go out much, so many of you may not have seen me in person because I'm a recluse sometimes. I have a son, Tyson, 11, dog lover, young chef, trumpet player, basketball and soccer, involved in Providence Rec, PVD Fest lover. Darius, sax player, loves basketball, loves soccer, Providence Rec, PVD lover as well. Mom, executive director of Rise Women's Leadership Conference, as well as other organizations. Conscious mom, founder, leader, named Rhode Islander of the Year last year from Rhode Island Monthly. So we're a family that's raising our children in Providence. So this isn't an outside perspective. This is somebody who's lived here since I returned from Manhattan in 2004 in historic Elmwood. So I believe, and I'm so excited because I think we have a home run waiting. Why do I say that? Because as you've heard today, we have so many stories that are there that we haven't unearthed. We have to connect cultures, as Ray said, and Tracy said, you know, unearth stories, the Pokanoket, people don't know the connection. We have to collaborate. So when I say collaborate, I mean, sometimes we have to reach beyond the people that are in our comfort zone. So what I mean by that is we have to make sure that the different communities of Providence in the different areas, South Providence, historic Elmwood, West End, they're part of this arts, culture, and tourism process as well. Very, very big statement. Just keep that in mind. We have to create spaces to drive public awareness. So it's not enough that we have the stories, we have to create spaces, but we have to be cognizant that we have to give the information in a way that resonates with the youth, the people of today. And we'll talk about how that is. To the right of the screen, you know, a lot of people love baseball. Show of hands if you've ever seen a baseball game. No one's hit. So mostly everybody's hand went up, right? What most people don't know when you talk about unearthing stories, the gentleman to the right is Babe Ruth. If you look up the top baseball players of all time, top 100 or top 25, Babe Ruth comes up #1 on most lists that you look at. Well, guess what? Babe Ruth played his baseball, early baseball, in Onlyville. He played for a team called the Providence Grays on Messer Street. And by the stairs that I just got, a lot of people didn't know that. So those are the stories that we talk about unearthing, as well as African, Latinx, Cape Verdean, and the many different stories of the indigenous peoples that we have. What should we do about it? Well, we have to plant the seed, because the information's already here in a way that people will resonate with people. We have to grow the root, because it's not enough, again, to put out the information in the way that we want to see it or the way that Lanre wants to see it. We have to put it out in the way that it's going to resonate and engage with the people. And then it will blossom. Public awareness and empowerment comes from that. Our future generations, to get them involved, this is the thought process we have to have. So 25 Beau, currently it's a building that's been there for 15 years, blighted, unused. The landmark, because I'm a Rhode Island guy, so I always use landmarks, is the car wash. Right near Fat Music Hall. I am the owner of 25 Beau. It's a community anchored facility empowering youth and women with education. So the first goal is to transform the currently blighted property in the heart of historic Onlyville into a multi-purpose community anchored facility. How am I going to do that? I'm going to redevelop a sprawling 15,195 square feet, which will support 6 integrated use cases to fuel youth success, women empowerment, and accessibility to high quality event spaces for diverse populations across science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So the acquisition of 25 Beau on top is full steam ahead. The following is my conceptual vision. It's to positively transform the lives of youth, women, and the community while becoming the most loved place to celebrate life events of today. If you look at the communities here, Providence has all of these communities and more. African, my parents are from Nigeria, from Lagos, Nigeria. What's interesting, my mom is for the history buffs, from Badagry. So she's actually from the town where the slave ships used to cast off. Millions and millions of slave ships cast off from a place called the Point of No Return, and a lot of them came to Providence. So it's always interesting to me that I probably have relatives in Providence, but in a weird way, that came many, many centuries ago. So family and community empowerment model is what I'm creating this under, which beckons us to use buildings that are dilapidated, not being used, for family and community empowerment. I'll start off with 6. It's gonna have your traditional couple office spaces and rentals, 3 approximately, with conference rooms that can be rented. It's gonna have co-working and co-located spaces along with membership. Remember, it's 15,194 square feet. On the top roof, it's going to have an athletic skills facility, not a gym, an athletic skills facility, which is generally much smaller. Multi-purpose function hall will be on the 2nd floor. The multi-purpose function hall, quinceañeras, birthday parties, corporate weddings. People like Courtney Nicolato at the United Way have already said, hey, Lanre, I could use that a lot. Sabina Matos has mentioned things that she can use it for. 2, the Futures Hub. It will have a hub that's dedicated to financial literacy, career awareness, and self-awareness. We can only empower our youth if they know about their history. Financial literacy are things that they don't get in school. So basically the Futures Hub is not looking to be a school. I'm looking to do it on weekends, after school, and in the summertime as an enrichment. And last but not least is the cultural and heritage experience, which will bring in an interactive and dynamic way, the ability to showcase the many stories that we have of this great city and great state. Some of the people I've been talking to, Ray, Don King, Keith Stokes, people at Brown and RISD are already on board with this process and creating that. I've been speaking to companies in the UK that do 180, 360-degree experiences where the whole room can change around you. As mentioned before, generally I'm a visionary, so I see things that aren't there yet, and I see this very clearly.
And Lanre, brother, I just 1 minute left, brother. Just want to give you the heads up, sir.
Cool. I'll take half a second. So interactive, immersive space dedicated to cultural heritage and history. So I've said that. Here's a high level of just a rendition, but it could look prospectively different than this. The floor plan is located here. So this actually aligns with the way the building is today. The cultural and heritage experience would be to the right, Futures Hub in the middle, office spaces to the left, gym space, which is like an executive gym space, And last thing I want to say with my couple of seconds left, and I did heed that, Ray, if not told, history can and will be lost. There is value in telling the history, but the telling must be compelling to the people you're trying to reach, not to me, not to anybody else. It can bring people to our state and its rich history. And I love to market and bring people to big events. So let's do it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Alon Ray, and thank you to all of our fantastic cultural resources from here in the city of Providence. I will turn the microphone back over to MJ.
All right. Thank you so much. That gave me so many thoughts and ideas. I love when our tourism industry can also build, like Ray is saying, like we tell our own stories. We appreciate ourselves more as Providence, and others appreciate us more as Providence. It's an awesome thing, and I really saw that in Lon Ray's project, and from the words from Xylophone and from Chief Dancing Star. So thank you all so much. We have a 5-minute break, so please join me back here at 3:06, and we're really gonna jump into talking with each other and submitting our thoughts and feedback to this cultural plan. So go ahead, get up. I'm going to put on some music and go get yourself a little coffee, a little water, a little snack, and join us at 3:06. All right, and I'm going to invite everyone back to the space. Welcome back. Hello, hello. Hope you got to do a little stretching and refreshing. I'm gonna do one more little wiggle and stretch. You can join me if you'd like. All right, so in just a few moments, we will be jumping into some smaller groups to get into conversation with one another. With those conversations, what we're doing is through our talking, we are giving our expertise, our knowledge, our thinking and our problem solving to the AC&T Arts, Culture, Tourism staff to help co-create this creative plan. So we're really looking at trying to give as much info as we can on our perspectives about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges for the tourism sector, and thinking really big picture and long time span. And I think we are very well primed from all our excellent speakers this afternoon, earlier today. I feel really well positioned to do that. So in the chat, I am going to, I'll pop off this screen share. And I am sharing for visual learners like myself the questions we will be discussing in our breakout groups. So first, we'll be talking a little bit more about what some of Providence's cultural resources are that are being valued by the tourism industry and by the city as a whole. So some of the strengths of the tourism sector here in Providence. And then we also want to think a little further on the cultural resources that exist but are being undervalued. And that home run that's waiting to happen that we heard about. And really, this is my favorite question. So, what are some of the systemic issues within this field that are keeping some of those resources from being really shining bright and for Providence to kind of come into like its full best self? What are some of the challenges and roadblocks that are in the way? And what are some of your ideas for how we can overcome and shift the way that we work, approach each other, approach relationships, approach marketing, approach, the big picture things that we can move forward with? So Janaea is going to break us out into groups. We'll be in pretty small groups, so we'll have good conversation with one another around these topics. And yeah, anyone have anything else to add before we step into these groups? All right, so here we go. You should get an invite to join a breakout room, and see you in a little bit.
okay, friends. You have a little more time if you'd like.
Okay, will you put us back together, please?
Sure
Me,
thing.
Todd, and Tracy.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Mhm. I don't think it will let me, actually.
Okay, well, if you don't mind us chatting here.
Oh, wait, did we have more time? I just told my people our time was up.
You did. I'm sorry. I thought I sent a broadcast message saying that you had more time. I guess
Oh,
it didn't get
okay.
through.
All right.
I didn't see it, but we could all just, my group came back early too, so we can all hang out if anyone wants to pick up, if you had lingering thoughts, if anyone's having any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we had some tremendous dialogue. I don't know if anyone from the group that we met with wants to just share some thoughts, but we had some tremendous dialogue. I could share it too, but I've been doing a lot of talking and I get tired of hearing me talk. So hold on one second. Let me just, so we looked at what some of the things that we're valuing now are. And the elements that came up with PVD Fest. We looked at sound session. We looked at Providence festivals in general, the city architecture and large cultural institutions, but recognizing that there's a need to explore beyond the normal stakeholders. One element that I brought up that I think probably doesn't get the type of attention or acknowledgement that it should as a cultural tourism attracted here in Providence, but that they do very well, is Federal Hill. And it was brought up that the neighborhood itself has really changed and diversified over the years, but that sort of concept that Federal Hill is where you go in the city of Providence when you want to engage in authentic Italian culture or have an authentic Italian experience, it remains. So regardless of who moves into the neighborhood, it keeps that narrative about it. And that was something very good. And then also it was brought up that when the city does its festivals and celebrations, at that time, they do a pretty solid job of engaging local artists who would then engage the different neighborhoods, which then pulls the neighborhoods into what the festivals are trying to do. So those are the things that are valued. When we looked at things that are undervalued, it was pretty much the diversity of cultures. We started mentioning Dominican culture on Broad Street, Cape Verdean community, the Nigerian community. Lanre shared that his people are from the port where the door of no return, and that a lot of those ships came directly here to Rhode Island. So why aren't we sharing that connection? The Cape Verdean community, Laotian and Cambodian community, Ghana, the diversity of indigenous cultures. So just in general, we're undervaluing the diversity of cultures we have here and how attracting those would be. And then when we looked at some of the systemic problems, looking at how do you invite people to be curious beyond what they know? How do you get people to acknowledge that they don't know everything about Rhode Island? Because that's the most frustrating thing when you try to tell someone something new and they tell you, no, that didn't happen, but it did. And then we talked about how to market effectively and just basically that we're not treating the cultural tourism sector as if it's an actual viable business sector, so we don't capitalize on it the way that we should. We're getting the larger group back. I'll stop talking, but those are just some of our general dialogue. And I really want to thank the breakout group that I was in, because they had some great conversation, great dialogue, shared some great experiences. I think it'll be some really good feedback for the cultural plan.
Fabulous. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the big group. Hope you had fun with your new friends in your mini groups. It's so good to meet people. Like, it's a rare experience for me anyway. I'm not out as much, so thank you so much. I think that we are going now to, if you want to take back out your Think Puzzle Explore, Dawn is going to give us some guidance, and we will return to these. So pull those out. We'll hear from Dawn, and I will pop up that slide for you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Let me just. exit my full screen so I can have my notes here. So before we get started, I want to revisit some of the 4 points that I want everybody to kind of keep in the back of your mind while we go through this thinking exercise. And it's the 4 points that I want people to think about is, the first one is for us to be thinking about how can the sector emerge from this COVID moment? And then and in terms of that, how can we emerge, how can we envision the future, right? Think beyond the current moment. And then the third question I have for us to think about is how can we be more expansive, right? And Ray clarified this morning when we were talking about inclusivity. But what we really mean is how can we be more expansive, right, in our respective professional practices? And then finally, how can we begin to reimagine new paradigms, configurations, leaders, and expertise within the sector and its governing institution, right? And so for me, in my Think, Puzzle, Explore exercise, some of those questions I put there are part of what fuels my explore. But before we get to that, we want to start off with giving you all 5 minutes to yourself to write on paper a reflection based on what you've heard all day and the themes you've heard all day, and also based on what might have come up in the breakout room. So we want to give you 5 minutes to write that down on some paper right now.
Could you say that again, Don, please?
So we want to give you 5 minutes, right, to fill in your Think, Puzzle, Explore graph that you made, but we want you to now take into account what you've heard all day, some themes that might have emerged that might be different from what you were thinking about when we first started, and also what emerged from the breakout sessions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take 5 minutes, my sister. What kinds of themes came up for you today during the talk, after hearing Ray present, after hearing our wonderful speakers present, after being in the breakout room? What new ideas came up? What new puzzles came up for you? What do you want to explore?
I'll put on some music for us.
And we are back, everybody. And so now we want to take 5 minutes to what I call blow up the chat. Blow up the chat. And so we are asking everybody, please now to take 5 minutes, and we want to know what are a few ideas you have about how we can advocate for a stronger cultural tourism sector in Providence. Please write that in the chat. You don't have to just write one thing. You can write 10 things in the chat over and over again. This is a kind of chance for everybody to just blow it up, y'all. So bring it. And we're on. You have 5 minutes to do this.
I'm seeing so much wisdom in the chat. If you haven't read some of our neighbors' replies, check those out. We'll take one more minute to add any highlights and ideas for how we can advocate for a more expansive cultural sector.
Okay, we'll start to wrap up, bring everybody back. Thank you all for blowing up the chat, blowing up the spot. And now what we want to do is we want to take 10 minutes in the big group and do a verbal share out. We want to hear what ideas you're excited about, what ideas came up in your breakout groups that might not have made it to the chat or in your activities. We really want to hear from you in order to make your voice be heard in the cultural plan for the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism. MJ, how do we want to do this? Do we want people to raise hands, or do we just want to let people kind of speak out?
So we actually don't have time for verbal share outs because we have a few closing remarks from Gina, but she'll let you know how you can continue to give your feedback even after this Zoom session is over. And for those who might be watching on YouTube later, how they can submit their thoughts. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to Dawn. Thank you everyone for these, like, so much wisdom in the chat right now. So Gina, can you take us to our next?
Hello, Apple Blossom Preschool and Early Learning Center. How can I help you?
Ooh, I will mute whoever's.
I think someone has to mute.
Mute.
Got it. I got it. All right.
We're all good?
Go for it, Gina.
That was amazing. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us today and for talking about how we can attract folks to Providence and also keep folks who are here, right? So we can rebuild this city. And thank you so much for thinking about how to advocate for this beautiful place. So ways you can continue to comment. We have focus groups, so anybody is more than welcome to organize a focus group with family and friends or colleagues in your organizations. It's a small Google form. Let me see if I can throw that in the chat. And essentially, like, you can do that at your kitchen table, you can do that on Zoom, you can do that on a phone call, and do this sort of SWOT analysis around strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for the sector right at home. So you can do that through the Google form focus groups. We also have some more cultural planning studios coming up. So we have one on the creative workforce, which is really about highlighting support for individual artists and making sure that they can thrive here in Providence. That's actually happening tomorrow afternoon from 1 to 3. And in the next few weeks, we also will have one on the future of arts teaching and learning, and one on resilient nonprofits. So we still have planning studios coming up, and we hope that you will join us for those as well. After the planning studios, we will be releasing pieces of the plan. So you will see sections of the writing and have the ability to comment on those sections online. And then we will have another public meeting where we release the entire draft and kind of talk about it as a community before moving forward. So the end goal is to have this ready to release in the spring. We're looking at the spring equinox time. We're gonna throw it in the universe that we'll have a vaccine by then. We'll be outside and it'll be great. We'll celebrate together. So I just keep saying that so it happens. And yeah, that's how you can get involved. You can also feel free to email me or Stephanie or Micah, anybody on the ACT team at any time. We're always here to answer questions. We are on Workshare, so expect a delay, but we will answer you. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Don and Ray, and to our speakers, Silpona and Lanray and Tracy. and of course, the artist facilitation team. And I would be remiss to not give a shout out to Janaea Kizzy, who's been running our backstage on Zoom, making this seem like effortless. So thank you so much, Janaea, for rocking out and making sure that we have breakouts and spotlights and live streaming and all that good stuff. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So the last thing we'll do is just unmute and just give a shout, give a thank you, say bye, just scream, get some noise into the room. Thank you so much. Woo!
Thank you.
Amazing people.
Everything. This was amazing.
Woo-woo.
Thank you
Good
so
job.
much.
Good job.
Where can I find the recording of this?
Oh, thank you for asking, Deborah. It'll be on our blog, so I'll throw that in the chat too. It'll be up there. All of the recordings from all of the studios and our launch event will be there. We are also translating those recordings into Spanish. We'll have an audio track in Spanish as well for all of them, for anybody who wants to share that with Latinx communities, and to make sure that we have everybody involved in the process. Everything on our blog is also translatable to a bunch of different languages, so please share widely. Thank you, Micah, for throwing that in the chat.
Bye. Great.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a